Subscribe to Man Told for more stories. Now, let's begin this one. She chose me. That's what my little brother said. While I was still holding the ring, the one I was going to use to propose to the woman I loved. It was raining, not the gentle kind. The kind that slaps your face, soaks your shoulders, and drowns your chest. Like the sky wanted to wash this night away. I was standing in Riverside Park, the same spot where Natalie once told me, "If you proposed to me here, I'd say yes without even thinking." I held on to that promise for 3 years. In my hand was the ring box, navy velvet, ice cold. I'd practiced the words over and over. "Will you marry me?" I was ready, but she never showed up. I waited. 1 hour, then 2. Only the rain and the damp streetlights kept me company. And just when I was about to leave, a familiar car pulled up. It wasn't Natalie. It was Ryan, my little brother. He stepped out, drenched head to toe, face unreadable. I asked, "What are you doing here?" He looked at me, somewhere between pity and detachment. Then he said it. "You need to let go." She chose me. I didn't mishear him. I wished I had, but his voice was cold, clear, final, like a verdict. I don't remember what I said next. Maybe I said nothing at all. All I know is my hand trembled, and the ring fell. It hit the ground, rolled under the rain, and vanished into a puddle black as ink. I stood there for a long time. The rain hit my face, but nothing hurt more than what broke inside me. I lost the woman I loved. I lost my family. But there was one thing I still had: the pain and an old guitar that never betrayed me. And right then, I knew. If I wanted to keep on living, I had to walk away from everything. My name is Andrew. I'm 32. I teach music at a high school in Portland. Not a performer, no big concerts. Just a regular guy living in a third-floor apartment, playing piano late at night and teaching kids the difference between a chorus and a climax. I used to believe that if I lived right and stayed true to my passion, good things would come. But I was wrong. My mom died when I was 10. A stroke, right in the middle of a family dinner, eating spaghetti. I still remember my dad carrying her out. My chopsticks dropped on the floor, lying next to the tablecloth stained with tomato sauce. I haven't touched spaghetti since. And that night, I started playing piano. The old piano in the corner used to be hers. The only thing Dad didn't sell when he had to cut back after the funeral. I never had formal lessons. Just messed around, note by note, memory by memory. Each key I pressed spoke the words no one in the house dared to say. Dad was different. A structural engineer. Practical. No room in his world for things like feelings. He once told me, "Music won't buy you a house. It won't fill your stomach. Let it go." And once, he tore up the first piece I ever wrote. Sounds like someone whining. I never rewrote that piece. Ryan, my little brother, 3 years younger, taller, smoother, always says the right thing. Chose the right major, invested at the right time. Dad used to say, "Ryan's got a brain. He plans ahead." And me, I've got a heart, but a heart doesn't buy you insurance. I wasn't jealous of him. I was the one who drove him to college, patted his back after his first failed startup, helped him move after his breakup. I really believed I was a good big brother. I was the shadow in the family. Ryan was the spotlight. And I got used to the dark. Natalie came to teach at my school 4 years ago. She was the art teacher. Brown eyes, soft voice, and this way of drawing that felt like she was untangling something inside. I first met her when I left my sheet music in the staff room. She picked it up and asked, "You wrote this? Sounds like someone trying to play happy, but afraid to be sad." I couldn't answer. But from that day on, she'd drop by the music room in the afternoons. Some days, she'd just sit and draw. Some days, she'd listen to me play and cry. I asked, "Are you okay?" She shook her head. "I don't know why I'm sad." Later, I realized some tears aren't for sadness. They're for things we're about to lose. That's how we started. Slowly, gently. No rush. I took her to acoustic nights. She took me to art shows. I'd play music. She'd sketch me. She used to tease, "You're the saddest ballad I've ever met." But I like sad songs. 3 years together, and I never once thought I'd lose her. A year ago, something changed. She wasn't cold, just distant. She stayed up late, said she was working on an art council project. But when I asked to see her work, she'd brush it off. One day, I dropped by her place unannounced. On her easel, A portrait of a man in a white shirt, neat haircut. It wasn't me. I asked, "Who's that?" She smiled gently. "Just someone I imagined." I believed her. I wanted to believe her. Ryan moved back to Portland. Said he needed a break to find balance. He started hanging around my school a lot, helping out with the new art program, Natalie's project. They'd met before at family dinners. At first, it was just polite talk. But then I noticed they talked alone more often. About art, about tech, and about me. One afternoon, I finished early and walked past the art room. The door was slightly open. I heard Natalie laughing, that soft giggle I hadn't heard in a long time. Then Ryan laughed too, and I heard him say, "I should have gone after you back then." I stood there, didn't go in, didn't say a word, just gripped the strap of my guitar until my knuckles turned white. I don't know how long I stood there, but when I left, it felt like I'd just stepped off a sheet of thin ice and heard it crack. Dad still held on to Sunday dinners. Ryan, me, Natalie, 3 people, 3 different worlds. Natalie spoke less and less. Dad only spoke to Ryan. I ate, counting the sound of my fork tapping the plate, as if that was the only thing keeping me from fading away. On the drive home, Natalie said, "Maybe I should skip the next few dinners." I asked why. She just shook her head. "Because when I'm there, it feels like I'm in the wrong room." I didn't know what to say. Because I felt it too. All 3 of us were in the wrong place. I was just the last one to realize it. I used to think music could make someone stay. But some songs, no matter how beautiful, can't hold on to someone who's already leaving. About a month before my birthday, I started to realize there are some distances love can't bridge. And music, even less so. Natalie changed her teaching schedule, moved all her afternoon classes to the morning. Said she wanted afternoons for herself, but I'd lived with her long enough to know Natalie never chose distance, unless something was shifting. That night, she fell asleep on the couch. Her phone slipped to the floor, the screen lighting up her tired face. I picked it up, just to turn off the screen. But what popped up first was an unlocked message thread. "Ryan, tomorrow at 4, back gate of the school. Let's go to the old spot." No exclamation point, no heart, no love you. But it still cut into me, like a dull blade to the chest. I put the phone down gently, like it might explode, turned away, and without thinking, ran the faucet. My hands weren't dirty, but they were shaking. Natalie stirred, looked toward the kitchen. "You're home early." I nodded. "Yeah. Thought I'd prep something for tomorrow." She smiled. Everything felt normal. Painfully normal. She knew I wasn't into birthdays. But this year, she surprised me. "Let's do something small for your birthday, okay?" Despite the distance between us, she still offered, like she was trying to hold on to whatever little we had left. Or maybe trying to make up for something she hadn't admitted yet. I nodded, but I prepared more than she knew. I picked a small place by the Willamette River. Rooftop. Just 2 seats. I asked them for soft piano music, a quiet corner, and a single candle. I brought my travel guitar. Planned to play her a song, maybe sing, then pull out the ring I'd been hiding in my desk drawer for 2 months. I arrived early. The table was perfect. Red wine, crystal glasses, lavender leaning gently in a vase. I poured 2 glasses, set them down, and waited. 15 minutes. I tuned my guitar. 30 minutes. I texted, "Are you close?" No reply. 45 minutes. I called. Straight to voicemail. 60 minutes. Another text. "I'm here." Still waiting. Nothing. An hour and a half. A waitress came by. "Would you like to keep waiting? Or should I clear the table?" I shook my head. "I'll leave. Thanks." I left her wine untouched. Full glass. No fingerprints. At some point, I saw someone walking into the restaurant. My heart skipped. I stood up. But it wasn't her. Just a stranger, smiling awkwardly. "Sorry, wrong table." I sat back down. And for the first time, I realized I was trying to sit in a place that no longer had room for me. The next morning, I woke up early. Not because of work, but because my chest was pounding, and my head needed answers I didn't want to admit. I drove to school, parked by the back gate, the one Ryan mentioned in that message. I wasn't expecting anything, but I still showed up, and I saw them. Ryan's car was parked by the curb. He leaned on the door. Natalie wore a beige coat, hair tied back. She stood close, too close. They didn't hug, didn't kiss, But Ryan looked at her the way I used to, the way I no longer could. She smiled. Soft. Brief. Like the foam on a cappuccino. Not a smile you give to a friend. Not a smile that belonged to me anymore. I reversed slowly. Made sure they didn't see me. I wasn't angry. I just felt like I no longer belonged in the story I thought was mine. 3 days later, Natalie showed up at my place. No warning. No bags. Dark circles under her eyes. I opened the door. Didn't ask anything. She sat down. I made her tea. No sugar, just the way she liked. We sat across from each other. Then she said, "I think we should take a break. I'm not sure I'm on the right path anymore." I nodded. "I get it." She looked at me, waiting for something. Questions. Anger. Anything. But I had nothing left to give. "So, I'll go now." "Yeah. Go." The door shut. I turned around. 2 cups of tea on the table. Still warm. Untouched. I didn't call. Didn't text. Except once. I sent, "Are you okay?" No reply. I deleted her number. Not out of anger, but because I didn't want to scroll past her name. Among the people who used to mean everything. I packed away my guitar. Closed the case tight. Like burying something I no longer had the courage to name. A week later, Facebook sent a notification. Ryan just posted a new photo. I wasn't going to click, but my hand did. It was a photo at some downtown bar. Ryan and Natalie. She leaned gently into his shoulder. Not too close, but close enough. The caption read, "Some people leave quietly. Some stay, even when they shouldn't." No tags. No hashtags. Nothing extra. Except me. I was extra. I didn't comment. Didn't save the photo. I just blocked them both. No one betrayed me. They just chose each other instead of me. And sometimes, love doesn't need betrayal to end. It just takes 2 people stopping the effort and looking in different directions. After that photo on Facebook, I stopped looking for reasons. No more texts. No more checking in. No more hoping. I stopped playing music too. The guitar sat in the corner, dust settling on the smooth wooden keys. Like a forgotten sigh. I still went to work. Still stood in front of the class. Still told my students, music is how we hold on to the things we can't say out loud. But the truth is, I'd stopped saying anything to music at all. I started losing track of time. Forgot the last person I called. Some days, I ate instant noodles 3 days in a row, just to avoid going outside. Didn't make the bed. Didn't open the curtains. The apartment had only 2 colors, gray and dark. One night, I got drunk. I don't know if it was the alcohol or just the emptiness inside me, but I picked up my phone and tapped on Natalie's name. The ringtone rang. My heart slowed, waiting for a voice on the other end. Just one hello. That's all I needed. But when the voicemail kicked in, panic hit. I hung up, deleted the call log, deleted her number, like erasing the thought that we could ever go back. Because I knew I'd walked far enough to not turn around, not even for a missed call. In class, I watched the kids sing and laugh. I should have felt hope. But all I heard in my head was, who am I without music? I used to think I was someone who inspired others. But now, music, the thing that once kept me alive, was as silent with me as the rest of the world. One night, around 1 a.m. I heard a violin from the apartment next door. Someone was playing on the nature of daylight, the piece I once taught Natalie. I didn't cry. I just sat up and pressed my ear to the wall. The notes were a little off, not perfect, but every one of them cut straight through me. I never found out who was playing. I didn't knock. I just listened. Every night. It was the first time in weeks that I felt my heart was still alive. A few days later, I arrived at school earlier than usual. On my desk, a cold bottle of orange juice, with a folded note. "You look tired. I don't know how to help. So here's some juice." No name. I looked around the classroom. No one smiled. No one looked back. I took the juice home, placed it on the table. Didn't drink it, but I kept it, like a quiet reminder. Someone still sees you, even if just once, even if they don't say who they are. A week later, the principal called me in. "Andrew, I know you're going through something personal, but the students are starting to notice." I nodded, said nothing. "If you need time off, the school can offer unpaid leave." I looked out the window. In the back field, a group of kids was rehearsing a play. One boy laughed, jumped too hard, fell. The others rushed over to help him up. I watched them, like a stranger watching a world he no longer belonged to. Not a teacher, not an adult, not anyone. Yeah, I think I need to step away. That night, I went home and started packing. Took down the sheet music from the wall, folded my jackets, unplugged the guitar. I wrote my resignation letter, sent the email. No explanation. No one asked. I booked a bus ticket to Eugene, a small town 2 hours from Portland. No plan, no destination. I just wanted to leave. Leave the place where every memory had Natalie's name written on it. I brought with me a backpack of clothes, my travel guitar, though I didn't know when I'd play again, a blank notebook I left behind, the ring I once meant to propose with, the first photo of us, the Christmas piece I wrote for someone who no longer listens. I didn't leave them to forget. I left them to remember the pain the right way. On the night bus, the seat next to me stayed empty. Outside the window, the world drifted by like a silent film. No dialogue, just yellow lights fading behind me. I didn't think about the future. I didn't think about Natalie. I just knew I wasn't who I used to be anymore. I opened the notebook, wrote the first line, "If today is a beginning, then all I need is myself." I haven't hit rock bottom. I just stopped climbing. And sometimes, living isn't about winning. It's just about not letting yourself disappear. Autumn in Eugene felt like a forgotten town. Golden leaves everywhere, mist hanging over empty streets, and time moving just a little slower. I rented a small place behind an old bookstore, the kind that smells like damp wood and aging paper. So quiet, I could hear myself swallow each morning. By day, I worked as a barista at a corner cafe. At night, I taught guitar at the local community center. The kids never asked where I came from, and I never told them. One day passed, then another. How long had it been since I thought about Natalie? I wasn't sure, but I remembered who I used to be. Someone who believed music could save a soul. Now, I had lost both. One afternoon, after class, I saw a man standing by the vending machine. His eyes hit me like nails into damp wood. Familiar, but worn out. Andrew. I knew immediately. There was no mistaking him. My father, the man who vanished when I was 10. No letters, no calls. Just left my mother juggling 3 jobs. And a boy who kept asking, "Where's Dad?" I thought he was dead. To be honest, I hoped he was, because it's easier to forgive the dead. And yet there he was. Hair gone gray, shoulders bent. Like a man who had spent his life apologizing with his posture. "How did you find me?" His voice was low, shaky, like he feared hearing it himself. "Your mother, she passed last week." I didn't react right away. My ears rang, like a broken piano string snapping in its chamber. My mother, gone. He handed me a letter, folded, yellowed at the edges. My hands trembled as I opened it. The handwriting, slanted, steady, the same she used when signing my report cards in elementary school. "My son, if you're reading this, it means I'm already gone. But there's something you need to know. Your father didn't abandon you. He was deeply depressed. There was a time he tried to take his own life. I never told you, not out of shame, but because I was scared you'd grow up to be just like him. Dar." My chest caved in. Memories hit me like waves. Mom packing lunches at 5 a.m. Mom sighing behind closed bathroom doors. Mom humming lullabies with no names. I used to think she was a superhero. Now I saw her for what she really was. A lonely woman who chose to carry pain instead of explain it. I looked at my father. My voice cracked. "What about me? Do you have any idea what it was like for me growing up?" I nearly jumped off a balcony once, because I felt like the world had no use for me. He didn't flinch, just looked at me quietly. I know, because I stood on that ledge too. We sat down on a stone bench. Neither of us spoke. Leaves fell between 2 men, one who left, and one who was left behind. I thought of Natalie. I used to call it betrayal, but maybe she left the way my father once did, because she couldn't stay with herself any longer. That night, I went back to my room and dug out the travel guitar. I hadn't touched in months. I placed it on my lap. My fingers brushed the strings like tracing an old scar. Then I began to play. No melody, no song, just broken sounds, like someone trying to cry and barely making a sound. It was off-key, out of rhythm, but it was real. I opened my notebook and wrote. I used to think, if someone just stayed, I'd be saved. But the truth is, I left myself long before they did. The next morning, I woke up before my alarm. The sky hadn't turned blue yet. The first ray of sun cut through the curtains, lighting the floor like the crack in a mirror. Finally touched by a hand again, I stood up, opened the window wide. Cold air swept in. I took a deep breath. For the first time in months, I felt alive. Not for anyone, just for me. The first person who left me wasn't Natalie, wasn't my father. It was me, the man who believed love was about holding on to someone else, but never learned how to hold on to himself. Nah, I thought I had moved on. After seeing my father again, after touching the guitar one more time, I thought that was the end of the pain. But then, one morning, an email from Natalie. Just a single subject line. Andrew. I didn't open it right away. I just stared at her name, torn between hope and fear. After a few minutes, I clicked. I didn't have the courage to tell you back then. I didn't cheat on you. I was pregnant. And I lost it. A month before I left. I read it again and again. Each breath felt ripped from my chest. Natalie. She was carrying our child. And lost it. Alone. Memories stabbed back like tiny blades. Her gently holding her stomach when she thought I wasn't looking. Waking up nauseous and hiding it. That teary gaze while I was too distracted. Too caught up in the next piece I was composing. I thought she was pulling away. But maybe she was falling. And I never saw it. I shut the laptop. Stepped out to the balcony. Portland air gripped my throat like a cold hand. And I asked myself, what if I had just asked, "Are you okay?" What if I had sat beside her, listened instead of hiding in music? I tried writing back. Typed. Deleted. Typed again. Deleted again. In the end, I wrote her a letter. By hand. Natalie. I don't know what words to use. And I don't know who to blame. You or myself. All I feel is regret. Not just for losing the baby, but because two adults didn't know how to hold each other when we needed it most. Thank you for telling me the truth. I don't wish to go back, but if there's a next life, I hope we'll be mature enough to love each other the right way. I folded the letter, didn't send it, burned it under candlelight, watched the ashes float off the balcony. That day, I returned to my guitar class, but for the first time, I didn't teach chords or finger placement. I had them sit in a circle, and I asked, "What do you do when you're sad?" A little girl said, "I cry into my pillow." A boy said, "I pretend to be asleep." I said, "As for me, there was a time I tried to die because no one knew I was sad." The room went silent. No one laughed. But I saw it. In their eyes, they understood. Each in their own way, I decided to return to Portland. No notice. Took nothing but my guitar and my notebook. I stopped by my old apartment. The new tenant let me in. Everything had changed, but the air still carried the shape of memories. I opened the bottom drawer. The sheet music I wrote the night before Christmas that year. The ring in its black velvet box. A photo of Natalie smiling. Her hand resting on my shoulder like a forgotten habit. I didn't take anything. I burned the music. Watched the page curl. Disappear into the small flame. And I thought, it's not that I hate the past. I just don't want it to hold me anymore. The next morning, I went to the cemetery. My mother was buried near a small stream. The grass was wet. The air misty. I sat down. No flowers. No candles. Just me. And the familiar name etched in stone. Mom, I forgive you. Not because you were right, but because I don't want to be angry anymore. You chose to live, even when it was heavy, even when it was lonely. And because of you, I learned how to keep going too. Die. From my pocket, I took out her old necklace, the one she wore every day, the one I never paid attention to. I placed it on the gravestone, a late goodbye. Later that day, I met my father at the old cafe, the one he used to take me to when I was just starting school. He was already there, slightly hunched, hands trembling. I looked at him. No anger, just an old man who had once failed and was trying to make it right. I used to wish you'd disappear forever, I said. Now I just want to know, if I fall, will you leave again? He looked at me, eyes cloudy, but something in them lit up. No, if you fall, I'll sit beside you. Even if I don't know what else to do. I nodded. That was all I needed. On the bus back to Eugene, I wrote the final line in my notebook. I didn't choose forgiveness. I chose to keep living, because forgiveness is for others. But living, that's the gift I give myself. Dash. 1 year later, spring returned to Eugene. The breeze carried the scent of pollen, and the laughter of children from the next building over. I still lived in the small room behind the bookstore, still taught music on Tuesday and Thursday nights, still wrote on Sunday mornings. I was no longer the man who once knelt in the rain with a ring he never got to give. I was a different version now, bruised but lighter. I never saw Natalie again. She never wrote, and I never reached out. But sometimes, when I play a familiar intro, I still remember her first nod. That night I sang at the cafe, and she listened. I used to think love was about holding on. Now I understand. Sometimes, love is knowing when to let go, not to forget, but so both people can keep living. I don't live with my father, but I send him a photo every month. Just one, usually me, standing in class, smiling. Not to prove anything, just to let him know. The son he once lost track of is still here, still learning how to grow up. One day, I got a letter from Joshua, a student from my old music class. Teacher, I failed the test, but I'm not too sad because I still play guitar. Mom says thanks to music, I stopped fighting with my friends. I read it, folded it, then sat down at my chair, touched the strings. A sound came out. Not perfect, not off, just honest, and I smiled. Maybe it was the first time I played, not for anyone else, just because it felt light. If you've ever lost something, I have no advice, because no two stories are the same. All I can do is tell you this. I once stood in a park, cold rain pouring down, with a ring in my pocket and a shattered heart. I used to think, if no one stays, it must mean I'm unworthy of love. But now, I don't need someone to stay. To know I have worth, I don't forgive the past, and I don't force myself to forget. I've simply learned how to keep walking, without carrying the burden of needing to understand it all. Because some questions, like why someone leaves, or why I wasn't enough for them to stay, they'll never have answers that satisfy. And the only thing I can do is not abandon myself again. That night, I played the first notes of something new. No sheet, no drafts, just the sound of the heart. A song without a name. For those who once lost themselves, while loving someone else. For the men, like me, who once thought they weren't enough, but chose to keep going. A little softer. I no longer wait for anyone to come home, but I've learned how to come home to myself.